So guys, Zabi did a list of vehicles that are, or stuff that are in the files, right, that are unused, but there is a little part of that list that I never really covered too much, which is vehicles that once were in the files, but they got removed. So there are some very interesting vehicles out here that I think should be added. So let's start with doing a list about some of them, okay? So we start off with something that really needed to be added, I think, for the tech tree, or we already talked about this vehicle during the weekend, right? The J35J, yes, the J35J was in the files, and what happened there was basically it became the XS model. So even the leaks or stuff that people were talking about were kind of confirming that it would be the J35J, but then it got basically changed to the XS as a premium, you know? So, yeah, but I still believe there are like gaps that need to be filled there that would be perfect for the J35J. So, the J35J, if you don't know, it's pretty much the same. It would feel like the same aircraft as the XS, right? But for the tech tree, right? So, it's more of a Swedish aircraft. Of course, it would have IRST, you would be able to use some pretty good missiles. You know, it would be pretty much the same aircraft, right? It would have flares and stuff, so it would be a very cool vehicle to have in the tech tree. We even have, of course, the stat card of it, or not stat card, like, but the stat card image, right? So hopefully at a certain point, this vehicle is added. Another one that it would be very interesting that got removed from the files is the F2G2. So the F2G2, apparently it is just kind of navalized version of the Super Corsair. Okay, so we have the Super Corsair in the game, of course, with the G1 model. And yeah, the G2 would be pretty much the same vehicle, but carrier-based, right? So I still believe it would be cool. I mean, there are not that many build of them. The orders were cancelled, right? But I would still like to see these things, like this thing in the tech tree, right? We probably would never, but it would be still cool, you know, a navalized version that can land on carriers and stuff of the same vehicle that it is an event vehicle that got added pretty long time ago, actually, I think. So, yeah, hopefully this thing gets added. Like I said, these vehicles got removed from the file, so it will probably never be added, but it would still be cool to see it. Another one that would be very interesting, guys, would be the F89J. This would be the last version of the Scorpion, pretty much, right? A conversion from the D models that I think we have in the game, right? I mean, it basically disappeared a little bit, but you get the point, right? But pretty much this is kind of the major interceptor version, so it does have the ability of carrying the Falcon missiles, and also not only that, but it can also carry the nuclear armed rocket called the Genie Air 2. Yes, it actually has a nuclear air-to-air rocket. The objective was to actually explode these things in the middle of, you know, formations of bombers to basically destroy everything, right? So they even tested these rockets in real life, and they actually, there's a video on the internet that you can find that basically they were exploding these things above the heads of people below to actually test the effect and stuff. So it's crazy. This thing would be crazy. I'm not asking for the nuclear rocket, of course, but an F-89 with Falcon missiles would be very, very cool, I think. I mean, I'm pretty sure that it would still use the guns, and it would carry the Falcon, and then, of course, it would even have the, if I'm not mistaken, some form of rocket-powered kind of pod or something like that to accelerate better. So it's like the major interceptor version. So, yeah. It was in the files, it got removed as a texture, so hopefully it gets added in the future because it's just a crazy Cold War design. Another one that has been on the files for a very long time and then it got removed, and then there are some other things, like for example, there are always leaks talking about this vehicle and stuff, but basically an American Marine A4M. Yes, guys, the Americans, although they are the main producer of the Skyhawk, they are one of the users that have the worst variants, right? So we have the A4B there, and then the E model, right? Which are both okay versions. They're not bad aircraft, right? But for example, if you take a look on the Israelis, they have the H, the E early, which is pretty much an M kind of, and then the N variant, which is very advanced, you know, as well, which is the AIT, right? So you have the E version that is modernized as a premium. So there are like 4 variants of the Skyhawk, and of course that's due to the Israelis not having too many vehicles that can be added. But at the same time, I think it would be cool to see a modernized version of the Skyhawk. Of course, this is not as modernized as you might think, but it is one of the most modern ones. So improved engines, enlarged cockpit, IFF system. It uses the ARBS, so CCRP pretty much. TV laser pod tracker as well. Spot tracker, sorry. So there are multiple things that would make the M variant a little bit better and a little bit more advanced. Remember, the A4B that we have in the game is one of the earliest models. So the only guided weapon that we have there is the bullpup and of course an A9B, right? And then with the E model, we still don't have too many things. We have better things, like for example the AGM-62, the Walleye, right? You still have the bullpups and stuff, but no Mavericks, no more advanced A9s, even if it has a higher BR, right? So I think for the US it would be cool to see it. And yeah, we definitely need it, in my opinion. And the last one that I wanted to talk about is an Argentinian vehicle, guys, that was in the files for a very short time, and it got removed. It's the IA-58A. This is the Pucara. Pucara. I don't know how to pronounce that in Spanish, but yeah, pretty much it is a turboprop vehicle that was made more to be kind of a light attack aircraft, something along those lines, right? It can be used as a trainer as well. But yeah, basically it's a turboprop, twin engined that can be used. They call it like a CAS vehicle, light attack, but also counter insurgency or counter any type of in the middle of the woods kind of paramilitary kind of situation, right? So yeah, it is a pretty interesting vehicle. Of course, the Argentinians they are the main, the main users of the vehicle. But of course, the Colombians, the UK apparently has evaluated with a captured one. So that would be, I mean, I don't want it to be added for the UK for sure, but it's kind of funny that they actually did that. The Uruguay actually used that as well, so maybe it would be added for the Germans, since it's kind of common that Argentinian vehicles are being added for the Germans, right? But pretty much it's a turboprop vehicle, not very fast. It can take, Hispano cannons, 7.6 Hughes FN Brownings, of course. It can carry some bombs and stuff, so nothing too crazy, some rockets. But it would be a kind of a cool semi-high tier prop vehicle, right? For ground attack, right? It's a very iconic vehicle for the Argentinians, of course, and for us here in South America in general, right? We all know this aircraft, right? So it would be very cool to see it. If you don't know, it was actually added with the actual model of it, apart from some things. And then, some gauges were added, etc. And then it got removed and we never saw anything about it again, right? So kind of sad, but I still believe we need to be having this vehicle. It would be very, very cool, right? But basically, this is it, guys. These are 5 vehicles. Of course, there are others, there are even tanks there. So let me know in the comments if you want to see another, video like this. But yeah, these are 5 vehicles that got actually added to the files, but they didn't get added to the game and eventually got removed from the files, which is very sad, right? So I see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe. By the way, just kind of to reiterate one point, don't trust the leaks that are happening right now, okay, guys? They are not real, okay? They're 100% fake, even confirmed by the creators of the leaks themselves. So there's not really a point on wasting time on them, okay? Once we start to have the proper leaks coming from the proper sources that we normally have in the channel, I will be covering, okay? So just kind of a thing that you need to look out there, okay? So see you guys. Thank all the patrons and members, and bye. See you.